keep in mind, Joseph and those who were with him that were being transported to a new location from Liberty, the guards had allowed them to escape. And Joseph is going to arrive in Quincy, Illinois on April 22nd, 1839. And they see the incredible needs of the saints there. And those people in Quincy, Illinois, there has to be a special place in heaven reserved for how kind they were to these refugees who they had nowhere to go, and it was middle of the winter and cold, and they took them in and did everything they could to provide for their needs. Well, now, as we prepare for summertime, they're able to procure some land upriver from Quincy that's really a swampland commerce.
Maybe that's why they were able to get it.
Maybe that's why they were able to afford it and get it. And Joseph changes the name from commerce to Nauvoo, which in the Hebrew means beautiful.
It's kind of a rare word. Shows up in Isaiah.
Yeah. And the problem here is it's a swampland. So they spend most of the summer, late spring, and through the summer and fall of 1839, they're out digging trenches for the swamp water to make its way out and to drain the land so they can start building stuff. And it's not a shock that many of them succumb to malaria. Now, ironically, that disease is named malaria. It's a Latin base mal for bad and aria, which is air. They thought that disease was caused because of that swamp stench in the air. Little did they know that the mosquitoes
the state bird of Minnesota.
Oh, is that the state bird? Yes, okay. Little did they know that those mosquitoes were causing this disease. Now, Joseph and Emma have so many people that they're taking care of that they've got them in their living quarters. So now Joseph and Emma are living outside in a tent, and many people are sleeping on the ground. This influx of people, not just from Missouri and still a few from Kirtland, but now you start getting people coming from England. And the numbers in Nauvoo are going to just grow until we get to 15,000 people. It becomes a very sizable city.
In fact, it was competing with Chicago, which today Chicago is one of the largest cities in the United States, but Nauvoo competed in size with Chicago at the time.
At that time, yeah. So one day, July 22nd, 1839, Joseph arose from his bed because he has become sick himself, and he basically says, "I'm done. We're going to rebuke this sickness." And so he commenced in his own house and started commanding the sick in the name of Jesus Christ to arise and be made whole. And they were healed according to his word. He then went from house to house, tent to tent along the river, healing people. And this is exhausting work. Spiritual work is physically exhausting and physically demanding. And he's been sick. He didn't have lots of stored up energy reserves. And he's exhausted. He had crossed the river in a boat, accompanied by several members of the Quorum of the 12, over to Montrose, Iowa. So Wilford Woodruff records this in his journal. A man came to Joseph and asked him if he would go about 3 miles and heal 2 of his small children who were twins, about 3 months old, and were sick nigh unto death. He was a man of the world. He had never heard a sermon preached by a Latter-day Saint. Joseph said he could not go, but he would send a man. You can picture him exhausted and wanting to go, but he's spent. So he says, after hesitating a moment, he turned to me, once again, this is Wilford Woodruff, and he said, "You go with this man and heal his children," at the same time giving me a red silk handkerchief. And he said, "After you lay hands upon them, wipe their faces with it, and they shall be healed. And as long as you will keep that handkerchief It shall ever remain as a league between you and me. I went and did as I was commanded, and the children were healed. It's one of those sweet little stories that connects our church history with some of the biblical stories, where you read in the book of Acts about Peter and his amazing gift to heal, that he would heal many people. In fact, some of them would just try to get the sick people so that they could get their beds, so that Peter's shadow would pass over them and they would be healed. Now, some would say, wow, this sounds like some strange folk magic going on. I love the fact that there's a gift to heal, and then there's a spiritual gift to be healed, where you have enough faith where you can be healed. And sometimes people need something external to get their faith to be healed over a certain threshold where God can actually perform a miracle with them. And this is one of those examples of a red silk handkerchief. You can look it up online and see pictures of it where a corner of it has actually been cut out. We don't know who took it, but you can still see it today in the church archives. And the handkerchief wasn't the thing that healed these children, but sometimes God uses these physical things to get us over that threshold where we can believe more. And so don't ever underestimate the power of doing those small and simple things when you're ministering to people's needs. There's something powerful about human touch, about giving food, about reaching out to people and helping increase their faith to be healed.